Today we are installing the Vantrue N4 Dashcam into a Honda Accord. First we're going to wash the windshield, make sure it's nice and clean. Next we want to make sure that we've got the right spot for it kind of figured out. We want it to be out of the way, but still in a place that we can still see it if we need to. So I'm going to put, for my view, it's just going to be just below the rear view mirror. So the way this attaches, it looks like it just slides right on like this. And then it gets power from the base unit right here. So we want to make sure that we can slide this on and off easily. Looks like there's a little lever right there. So we want to be able to get it on. Then with that, slide it off. Okay. Okie dokie. So to find the right mounting position, we want to have it on the mount on the holder and then find the right spot. So my original spacing is going to be way off because I was not taking into consideration the size of the mount. So I want to have this up as high as it can go. So with it here, for me to look around it, I have to do one of these. Just around, over, down. Well, it can be moved after the fact, but ideally you don't move it because the wiring is going to go up and around. It's going to be all nice and tight. So you don't necessarily want to have to move it once you install it the first time. So I guess this is where it has to go. We've already washed the window, so it comes with this little sticky piece that says peel this off after number 1, and it's gonna stick right up here, and then we'll peel off number 2 and stick the dash cam to that. Peel off number 2. Then the dash cam has a little protective film to cover up the sticky. We're gonna stick that up there right on top of the clear thing that we just put on. Stick it on there, and then, oh dear, and I've already done it wrong. The reason that I've already done it wrong is because now there's no room for the USB cord to fit in there. The USB is this long, and I should have taken that into consideration, which I did not. The other dash cams that I've put in did not have this little twisty thing where the camera gets its power. So this one, I don't like this one as much as the N4 Pro or the E3 that I put in the other cars. I just happen to have one of these USB-C 90-degree adapters. I'm gonna put in, I'm gonna stick it right here, and I'm gonna twist it up to make sure that it clears. It does not. Okay, which means I have to take it down That's fun. So I'll take that down. I'll twist it up to make sure it clears. I guess if I'm doing this, I can probably get the original since I'm taking it down anyway, right? Might as well use the original cable. It is just, wow, it has to sit down really low. I do not like that. Still does not clear, so I'm going to have to plug it in here. I'm still going to use the 90-degree elbow. And I'm going to stick it here to make sure it clears. Boy, I am not doing well. But that's okay. You know, yikes. Okay, I've done a terrible job. Ouch. Now I'm gonna peel this off. I'm gonna move it down. Oh man, this is terrible. Okay. Just trying to make sure all the cables clear. This is just terrible. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to stick it on here. Make sure it clears. And then I'll put it there. Okay. I don't think this little clear piece is necessary, but I think it just makes it so you can remove the camera easier. So here we go. We've got that there. Clears that. For reals. Okay. There we go. Sticking it on there. Twisting it. There's locked. Alright, so you can see here, this now clears up there. It clears there. This is now gonna I'm probably gonna run it up this way. Gonna run it up this way and then across here and down. But the main thing right now is you can see that the USB clears, and we're gonna mount it up there somewhere. Actually, before phase 2, I'm gonna plug it in. I'm gonna start the car and make sure that it actually runs. Okay, so I've turned on the car. We're using the little adapter, and it looks like it's powered on, so that's good. Just to be extra double sure, I'm going to now plug in the rear camera before I run all the cables. One end is straight. One end is a 90-degree. I'm going to put the 90-degree in here because it's going to go straight up, and it's going to go along with this other one. So with that plugged in, I'm going to plug in the rear camera and just make sure that it works. Okay, so that works. I know everything's working now. I can move to phase 2, which is moving to the other side of the car. All right, now we're in the passenger side of the car. This is the stage where we're going to run the cabling around. And a little preview of what we're going to do is we're going to run it up. I'm going to run it up along here. This pulls down a little bit, you can see. So we're just going to run it up along here, just kind of stick it along in here. And then we're going to use this tool that it comes with, and we're just going to kind of peel this back gently. We don't want to deploy the airbags. And it's going to come along here, and then it's just going to go right under this weather stripping all the way down. all the way down here, and then we'll figure out where it's gonna go underneath. But for now, let's just start running some wires. Use the little tool and just kind of tuck that wire back up in there so it's snug. Oh, but you know what? We also have to keep in mind that this needs to unhook. No, I guess not. It does not need to unhook. So we don't need to be too concerned about this being enough slack to slide over to the side. We don't need to worry about that because we can always unplug it if we need to take it off. But the camera itself is going to come off through this and not through this. So that's fine. We will continue. We will just keep tucking wires up underneath. Once we get over to this side, we're going to use this tool to kind of pull this back a little bit and just tuck the wire back behind the plastic without sticking the tool down there too far. So I'm going to use it a little bit to get the wire underneath that piece of plastic. Once we get to here, it's a little tricky. We need to kind of bend the cable up underneath that plastic. So here you can see, like, you can't even see it from this side. It goes all the way over here. And then we're just gonna tuck it in underneath this weather stripping. So once we're down here, we're just gonna keep going along this weather stripping, right down here, right down here, and then we're gonna go across. In this car specifically, there's a little gap right here, so we'll just go right in there and see where we go from there. There we go. Almost got it. There we go. Okay. So that is now behind this weather stripping. Right down to there. We're gonna go into this little gap and we'll see where this leads. Does it lead? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna open the glove box, see where that hinge goes. Okay, so I'm not going to interfere with the glove box if I put it under this little gap here. I don't know what this does. I don't know what this is. So I'm just gonna follow it along the top here. We don't want it to fall down and get in the way of the passenger, so I'm just kind of tucking it up under here. I found this little gap right there. Let's see if it'll go along this little gap right along here. That looks like it would work pretty well. as opposed to trying to go along here and then up. Unless I was to go all the way along and go into the glove compartment, which might work as well. This is the shortest distance, but it then takes up the easily accessible 12-volt plug, so I don't know if I want to do that. I think I'm going to try to put it in the glove compartment because this does not get used very much. It looks like it'll reach. I'm going to try to stick it up underneath this little... Oh, hey, that comes off. Oh, that's beautiful. That looks great. Okay, so that slid very nicely along this little panel. And then it went right up in here. It's gonna go right around this little bend and then plug straight in here. Now let's see if the center console will close with all these cords sticking out. Kind of. It kind of will. There doesn't look like a gap. Okay, yeah, that closes. Just have to make sure it's clear of this little notch, which I can probably just tuck it in there. There it is. Now we'll go around to the other side. So there we go. The camera is now installed. It powers on when the car comes on. We've got just a little bit of the wire peeking out right there. But otherwise, it goes up under here. You can't see it. You can't see it all the way down the weather stripping, down the inside, underneath, up underneath, along here, along the bottom of that, all the way up, and then into the center console, which then also keeps this plug free so we can still use our power that we would normally use for our phone chargers. And that's it. The next step is to do the rear camera. So we'll plug that in here, and then we'll essentially do the same thing. We'll go up along the top, but then instead of going down, we're gonna continue along the top through this, through that right there, along the back, and then we'll mount it in the back there. And again, pay attention to both ends of this cable. One end is straight, one end is a 90-degree. We want the 90-degree to be here and the straight end to be at the back, because we want the cable to plug in like this and go along the top. It's also helpful to straighten out the cable before going too far. Just kind of take all the kinks out, straighten it out so you don't run into having to untangle wire as you go. If it's all straightened out to begin with, it makes it just a little bit easier. Got it around that little corner, coming out here, and then we're gonna go right along the top. Now we're gonna go right under here. Gloves can be helpful with this. I'm just noticing that my fingers are getting a little pained right now. But with gloves, it's also harder to put your fingers in these smaller places. to get the cables in. So I chose not to use gloves this time. I've used gloves with the other 2 cars that I've done this in. It just seemed like the gloves were more of a hindrance than a help. My fingers will heal. They will be fine. Be careful around any area that says airbags. Right here it says side curtain airbags. My guess is there's an airbag right under here. So be really careful around these areas. I don't know what triggers an airbag, but I don't want to find out. So the other 2 vehicles that I did this in were SUVs, and they were much longer. So I didn't have quite as much extra USB cable to figure out where it was going to go. So I've got quite a bit now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck it up under all this, assuming there's a whole bunch of extra space under here. There's not as much extra space up in this cavity as I was hoping. So I might have to go farther and then come back with it. This might not look quite as tidy back here, but as long as they're not falling down while we're driving, should be okay. With this one, the cord comes from the driver's side. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. We want this mounted as high as we can. I've already washed the back window. We've got our little film. We're going to put it right up at the top. So we're going to peel off number 1. This is just going to help the camera stick a little bit better to the window, and it'll help the camera come off when it's time to take it off if we ever need to. So number 1 is down. Peel off number 2. It reveals the sticky on this side. Remove the sticky from the camera. We're gonna mount it right up there. And we can turn this a little bit so that it faces down a little bit more. And then see if we can tuck this cord up one more time. Okay. So now we turn on the car. And we see if everything turns on the way we expect. Hey, look at that. We got a front camera. We got a back camera. So let's see which one. I believe this 1, 2, 3, 4th button over changes our different view configurations. So we don't have an option for full screen rear camera. The other Vantrue cameras have versions where there is no picture-in-picture. You can have just the front, just the back, picture-in-picture, and any combination of all of them. So we're gonna we got fullest screen rear view, and right now it looks like we're pointing really far down. So I want to tilt the camera up because we don't need to see that much of the rear of the car. You can see like over half is just the back of the car. So I'm gonna move back there. Make sure you're in park and the parking brake is on. So it pops off extremely easily, which I'm kind of surprised. Just when I was trying to adjust the camera, it kept popping off. So it's kind of a two-handed thing. I was unable to do it with one hand holding the recording camera. So anyway, be sure to support it with one hand and then turn it with the other. So now we're gonna go up here and we're gonna check. That looks a little bit better. All right, I think we're set. I think that's good enough. And there is installation. Installation complete.